On April 10, 1912, Frank Davis Millet boarded the RMS Titanic at Cherbourg, France, bound for New York City. He was travelling with longtime friend Archibald Butt. Millet was also close friends with Augustus St. Gaudens and Mark Twain, both of whom attended his 1879 wedding to Elizabeth Lily Merrill in Paris, France. The couple had 4 children, Kate, Edwin, Lawrence and John. Mark Twain was Millet's best man. Millet was host to many artistic friends, which included John Sargent, who often used Millet's daughter Kate as a model. Edwin Austin Abbey, the American artist and illustrator, was also a guest at the Millet estate at Broadway, Worcestershire, England. Francis Davis Millet was born in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts in 1848, obtained his master's degree in language and literature at Harvard University, and then received art training at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp, Belgium. As well as an artist, Millet was a writer and journalist. He translated Tolstoy and also wrote essays and short stories. Among his publications are Capillary Crime and Other Stories, 1892, The Danube from the Black Forest to the Black Sea, 1892, An Expedition to the Philippines, 1899. He was elected a member of the American Academy of Arts and Letters and was an honorary member of the American Institute of Architects, a member of the National Academy of Design, and he was made a trustee of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and his career included work on a number of world fairs, including Vienna, Chicago, Paris, and Tokyo. Millet was among the founders of the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and in obtaining the appointment of Emil Otto Grundmann, an old acquaintance from his Antwerp days, as director of the school. Millet helped to establish the American Academy in Rome from its beginnings in 1904. Francis Davis Millet was en route to New York on official business for the Academy on that fateful eve of April 10, 1912, on the unsinkable ship Titanic, its maiden voyage. He travelled first class, and many dignitaries were among the passengers, including the Astors, Mr. John B. Thayer, second vice president of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and Mr. George D. Widener, a son of the Philadelphia streetcar magnate, Mr. P.A.B. Widener. Many of the men held regular meetings in the smoke-room on the Titanic, talking politics and exchanging stories, passing the time. While it was rumoured that icebergs were to be found travelling further south than usual that year, it was not on anyone's mind to be alarmed, as the captain was well seasoned and the ship well equipped to handle any problems that might arise. The account of one of the sole survivors, Colonel Archibald Gracie, offers the following details from that fateful night. I was enjoying a good night's rest when I was aroused by a sudden shock and noise forward on the starboard side, which I at once concluded was caused by a collision with some other ship perhaps. I jumped from my bed, turned on the electric light, and glanced at my watch nearby on the dresser, which I had changed to agree with the ship's time on the day before, and which now registered 12 o'clock. Correct ship's time would make it about 11:45. I opened the door of my cabin and looked out into the corridor, but could not see or hear anyone. There was no commotion whatever, but immediately following the collision came a great noise of escaping steam. I listened intently, but could hear no machinery. It was a beautiful night, cloudless, and the stars shining brightly. The atmosphere was quite cold, but no ice or iceberg was in sight. If another ship had struck us, there was no trace of it, and it did not yet occur to me that it was an iceberg with which we had collided. Not satisfied with a partial investigation, I made a complete tour of the deck. While we stood there, the story of the collision came to us, how someone in the smoking room, when the ship was struck, rushed out to see what it was, and returning, told them that he had a glimpse of an iceberg towering 50 feet above Deck A, which, if true, would indicate a height of over 100 feet. Here, too, I learned that the mailroom was flooded, and that the brave postal clerks, in 2 feet of water, were at their posts. From my own conclusions, and those of others, it appears that about 45 minutes had now elapsed since the collision, when Captain Smith's orders were transmitted to the crew to lower the lifeboats, loaded with women and children first. No passengers whatever were to be seen except in the smoking room, and there, all alone by themselves, seated around a table, were 4 men, 3 of whom were personally well known to me, Major Butt, Clarence Moore, and the artist Frank Millet, but the 4th was a stranger, whom I therefore cannot identify. All four seemed perfectly oblivious to what was going on the decks outside. It is impossible to suppose that they did not know of the collision with an iceberg, and that the room they were in had been deserted by all others, who had hastened away. It occurred to me at the time that these men desired to show their entire indifference to the danger, and that if I advised them as to how seriously I regarded it, they would laugh at me. This was the last I ever saw of any of them, and I know of no one who testifies to seeing them later, except Major Butt. There is one fact of which I am positive, and that is that every man, woman, officer, and member of the crew did their full duty without a sign of fear or confusion. For Francis Davis Millet, the Titanic was a final act, but the enduring appeal of the artist and his dedication to it goes on. And finally we read, Frank Millet was noted for doing many things exceptionally well. It has been said of the law that she is a jealous mistress, but this is even more true of art. To greatly excel in art, one must be a slave to art. Although art was Mr. Millet's chosen calling, yet he was constantly subject to a great temptation, that of making excursions into other fields in which also he excelled. Francis Davis Millet, an American painter, illustrator, writer, muralist, and journalist.